Good afternoon. Am I audible? Yes, everyone. Am I audible? Welcome, Purva, latest entries, Sushmita, Praveen, JV, Gayatri, and Mrunal. Okay. Yeah, good afternoon. I hope I am audible. If I'm audible, give me a thumbs up. I'll just tell. Okay. So I guess I'm audible now. Welcome again to this next session. We just did with the cranial nuclei from 1 to 2 p.m. 1 to 2 p.m. we had a session on the cranial nerve nuclei. Okay. Now, giving you a breather of around a couple of hours. Now from 4 to 5, we'll discuss of this some important cranial nerves like the third, fourth, and the sixth. We didn't include the fifth one because these three are the motor nerves and they are going to supply the extraocular muscles. They are going to supply the extraocular muscles. So we jumped onto it. Not the fifth. Fifth one is slightly different. Fifth one we'll discuss tomorrow. Tomorrow around 3 p.m. So let me update you here also that tomorrow around 3 p.m. Tomorrow, I guess the date is 29th. So tomorrow around 3 p.m. we have the now number 5 and 7 that we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay, so welcome to this session, guys. Welcome all. The referral code, I guess you know it, but it's our responsibility to tell you so that you can save at least 10% when you apply for the Unacademy Plus subscription. So great platform. Let's go through it, and you will surely enjoy it. Now come to the topic. The topic, guys, is our cranial nerves, third, fourth, and sixth. You all know why we choose this nerve, because they supply our extraocular muscles. They supply our extraocular muscles. Okay, so I hope all of you settle down. Okay, Chinu, Rakesh, Tawheed, Anushka, Likia, Sunita, Prajwal, and all of you. Okay, so I welcome all of you again. This is just a starting session on the cranial nerves, third, fourth, and sixth. Okay, now these are our motor cranial nerves, completely motor cranial nerves. They fall under which cranial nerve nuclei? We did a few hours back. They fall under which cranial nerve nuclei? What is that column? Column is general somatic efferent, or simply somatic efferent column. Simply somatic efferent column, general somatic efferent. So they fall under this particular nuclear column, and then they will come out of the brain stem. The third and the fourth cranial nerve, it comes out from the midbrain part. Midbrain part. The sixth cranial nerve, it comes out from the lower part of the pons. From the lower part of the pons. Okay, lower pons. It will come out from the lower part of the pons. Okay, let us see individually what is happening over here. What is happening over here? First of all, we'll look at the brain stem. First of all, we'll look at the brain stem. This is simply brain stem. I guess we all know. This is our optic chiasma. Optic chiasma. That is our optic tract over here. This region is our midbrain. This region is our midbrain over here. This region is our pons region. Pons region. And below the pons, this region is our M dot O dot medulla oblongata. If you look at the cranial nerves now, from the midbrain, you can see this third cranial nerves. This is the anterior aspect. So that also we have to understand. We are looking at the anterior part of the brain stem. Anterior part of the brain is stem over here. From the midbrain, you have the third cranial nerve, and below this, from dorsally, you will have this fourth cranial nerve, and this would be our fourth cranial nerve over here. From the pons, we have this as the fifth nerve, not discussing it right now, but here we have this as our sixth nerve. This is our blue color, you can use it for the sixth nerve. This is our sixth cranial nerve. So these are the three nerves which we are worried about right now, and they're coming out of the brain stem, midbrain, and your lower part of the pons. All these are motor, so they are medial. Please do remember M and M. M for motor, M for medially. Now, where are they inside? Inside also it's important. So first look at the sixth TS of pons. If you look at the lower part of the pons, transverse section on the lower part of the pons, here this red arrow, you are seeing the abducens nucleus over here. This red color only. That is the abducens nucleus. This is the ventral aspect. That is the dorsal aspect, or anterior posterior. Anterior, or the P for posterior aspect. You can see that this is our opening of the fourth ventricle over here. And here you can imagine the sixth nerve that is coming out. So what we saw from that diagram, that when the sixth nerve was coming out, it was coming out from here. This was from the point where the sixth nerve was coming out. Here is the sixth nerve. I hope now that point is clear. Let me make it over here. You can also see the seventh nerve nucleus, which this blue arrow, seventh nerve nucleus, and its neuron, they take a curve around it. What is this process known as? This process is known as when the seventh nerve takes a loop around the sixth nerve nucleus. This process is known as Very good, Tawheed. Neuro, NE, neurobiotaxis. That is known as neuro. Very good, neurobiotaxis. Phase sensory supply, name the cranial nerve fast. Phase sensory supply, the cranial nerve is fifth. Phase motor supply, the cranial nerve is seventh. So seventh nerve somehow tries to move around to reach close to the fifth nerve, somehow tries to reach around the fifth nerve, so that they can, they can talk to each other. Talk to each other means you feel it and then you respond it. Afferent, efferent, afferent, efferent. Okay, so this is how when the seventh nerve motor part comes to close to the fifth nerve, it takes around the sixth nerve. This is known as neurobiotaxis. Yes, that is also known as internal Janu. Who wrote it? Praveen. Very good. So this is known as the internal Janu over here. That is known as the internal Janu. Okay, pons. So this is how the sixth nerve is coming out and the other nerves. This is what you are seeing at the floor of fourth ventricle. So it forms a facial colliculus. This is from here, the fourth ventricle. You are seeing the floor of the fourth ventricle. So this swelling, I hope you can understand this little bit of swelling that is known as facial colliculus, formed by the nucleus of the sixth nerve or the axons of the seventh nerve. That is the answer of the facial colliculus. So this is the sixth nerve. Let us look at the other nerves. For that, we have to look at the midbrain. So here we go to the midbrain. This is which level? That is the level of inferior colliculus. So which nerve? Third or fourth? Third or fourth? At the level of inferior colliculus, the nerve is fourth. This is your aqueduct. So cavity of the midbrain is aqueduct of Sylvius. Aqueduct of Sylvius. And this is known as periaqueductal gray matter. That is all your periaqueductal gray matter. And the important nuclei are these. What are these nuclei? These nuclei, you can see the trochlear nucleus right over here. This red color is your trochlear nucleus. Clear? There is also this mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal. We learned it in the cranial nerve nuclei. The mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So this is where the trochlear nucleus is there. Now the nerve from here, trochlear, will come it in this direction or will it go in this direction? Will it come anteriorly or will it go posteriorly? Ventral or dorsal? Very good. Yes. So it is going to go dorsal. It is the only cranial nerve. It is the only cranial nerve which goes dorsally like this, and then it will have an internal decussation, and then it will come forward. Okay, this is why when we see it from the NT, suppose you have these eyes over here and you are seeing it from here, you'll see this cranial nerves on the side. You'll see these cranial nerves on the side as we have seen over here. This is your fourth cranial nerve. You're seeing it, it's coming from behind. It's coming from behind. This is your trochlear nerve over here. The only nerve which has a dorsal path. The only nerve having the internal decussation. And if I ask you, as it comes out posteriorly, it is above which structure? Below this, what you have? So this nerve, this part of the trochlear nerve over here is above which structure, or it is related to which structure? Behind. Very good. Below this, you have the roof of the fourth ventricle. Somehow, if you remember it like this, that was your aqueduct. And here, this was the position of the fourth cranial nerve. So you have the superior medullary vellum over here. Very good, JV and Praveen. So it is just over the superior medullary vellum because that is the roof of the fourth ventricle. I hope you are getting the point. If not, no problem. Midbrain, pons, medulla, lateral view, aqueduct, central canal, that is the roof of the fourth ventricle, and the trochlear nerve was somehow over here. It came out over here. So it is just lying above the, what is this? Superior medullary vellum. Superior medullary vellum over here. Can you understand this? The relation. That is the relation of the fourth cranial nerve to the superior medullary vellum. Then obviously it has to come out. And why it is medial? It is a motor nerve. Then above it, we reach the superior colliculus area. So here, which nerve will we have? We have the third cranial nerve over here, oculomotor nerve. Oculomotor nerve is said to be a oculomotor nerve complex. That is said to be oculomotor nerve complex. Why? A couple of very, very important nuclei are over here, apart from the oculomotor nerve nuclei, which are very good. One is your Edinger-Westphal nuclei and one is your pretactal nuclei. They actually form the oculomotor nerve complex. Even this oculomotor nerve in itself has divided into few of the specific nuclear components. For example, its dorsal part gives rise to the inferior rectus. Its anterior part inside the oculomotor nerve is for the medial rectus. Its central part is for the inferior oblique. Its median part is for the contralateral superior rectus. Here I use the word, what word? Contralateral superior rectus. You're getting a point. So inside the oculomotor nerve component, there are other components. Just an extra point I'm telling you, though it is not that much asked, but yes, you should have a slight idea, because this oculomotor nerve is supplying a lot of muscles. Dorsally, you have the inferior rectus. Anteriorly, inside the oculomotor nerve, you have this medial rectus for the fibers. In between central, you have the inferior oblique. Median raphe, you have this contralateral fibers. They go to contralateral superior rectus. So superior rectus is supplied by contralateral, uh, by the ocular supranuclear. You have this contralateral part of the oculomotor nerve. So oculomotor nerve nucleus complex, I repeat again, is by the oculomotor nucleus, the pretectal nucleus, and then you also have that Edinger-Westphal. Where is our Edinger-Westphal? Though it is not maybe not written, but yes, it is adjacent to this only. You have the Edinger-Westphal also, and inside this these parts. So now they will come anteriorly. They will come out of it, and will it go anteriorly or will it also go posteriorly? Yes. Will it go ventrally or will it go dorsally? It is going to go ventrally. Very good. So this oculomotor nerve is going to lie in the, what is this area? Interpeduncular fossa. This is your cerebral peduncles on both the side. This gap is over here. That is your interpeduncular fossa. Okay. Yes, fourth nerve supply only. Yes, fourth nerve will only supply superior oblique. So what is the but over here? Why you use the word but? Fourth nerve, you are right, that will supply only the superior oblique. Okay. So that lies in the interpeduncular fossa. Oh, Simran, you just touched on my one of your painful point over here. Therefore, I try to write, I try to write in capitals. Interpeduncular fossa. Though a nice point, I had to improve on this aspect. I will definitely try, Simran. Don't worry. I repeat again. Complex. No, complex. I didn't mention superior oblique. I didn't mention the lateral rectus. When did I mention them? I said inferior rectus, inferior oblique, medial rectus, superior rectus. I didn't mention superior oblique or lateral rectus. Okay, I didn't mention them. Not all muscles. Did I said all muscles? If I said that, it's obviously not all muscles. It is not obviously all the muscles. Okay. Clear, Simran? Which part you didn't understood? Let me know that part. Exactly, specifically any part. Okay. In the meanwhile, you are figuring out. So this is what is happening inside the brain. Let me go again. Sixth nerve, then you have the fourth nerve, then you have the third nerve, then you have the third nerve. Okay, these are the three cranial stem blood the transfer sections over here, and these are your cranial nerve which will come out. These are your cranial nerve which will actually come out. Now, as they come out, you can see at the another cadaveric image of this whole brain. Sorry, I didn't get you, sir. Our third nerve only supply contralateral or same side? No, contralateral. The nucleus goes contralateral. Separate nuclei and no, these are a part. Anushka, these are all the parts of oculomotor nucleus only. These are all the parts of the see. What is a nucleus? It is a collection of the cell bodies. So few collection is posteriorly, few collection is in the middle, few collection is in the anterior part, few is a lateral, few is mean, like that. So that whole collection will supply one muscle. This whole collection will supply one muscle. That is the only point over here. Just to tell you, if a question comes at like INI set level, then be prepared for that part. Okay, contralateral nucleus is only for the superior rectus. Okay, LPS is for the bilateral. Okay, here's a cadaveric image of the brainstem, and just to show you these nerves, then we'll go to specific parts, specific, these branches of these nerves. Now we can very well see this is the area of the pons. That is the area of the pons over here. This is the basilar artery in the pons. That is the area of the midbrain. And now our favorite nerves. Favorite nerves are, this is our third cranial nerve. This, let me zoom it more. This small thin slender is our fourth cranial nerve. And if you go into the lower part of the pons, this coming from the medial aspect, that is our sixth cranial nerve. These are our third, fourth, and the sixth cranial nerve. Point clear? Point clear? General somatic efferent. Now we have come out of the brain. We have to go stepwise. We were inside the brain. We saw what is inside the brain. What are the nuclei? What are the sections? Now we are coming outside the brain. Now, as we come outside the brain, what do we achieve? What do we achieve, or what do we see is both of this third and the fourth cranial nerve. Both of the third and the fourth cranial nerve, they pass between two vessels, and I hope you have seen in the diagram. They pass between two arteries or two vessels. What are those two arteries or two vessels? Yes, what is the name of those? Those are your, very good, posterior cerebral. Is this writing fine, Simran? And superior cerebellar. Superior cerebellar artery. These both are branches of the basilar artery. These both are branches of the basilar artery. Posterior cerebral and the superior cerebellar. Okay, branches of the basilar artery. As you have seen that this was the vertebral giving of the basilar finally into posterior cerebral, and just before it the superior cerebellar. Between these you have the third, and from the side you have the fourth. The third, and from the side you have the fourth. Fourth is one of the slender. Fourth is one of the thinnest cranial nerve. Fourth nerve is one of the thinnest cranial nerve. Now, why between these two vessels? What is the importance? So, there's any aneurysm in these two vessels. In case of these two vessels are involved in any of the aneurysms, they may compress third or the fourth cranial nerve. That is the reason why we need to know it. Because if there is any aneurysm over here, then this aneurysm, these nerves will be compressed. And if you see again, then this third nerve is slightly thicker. Why? The common sense. It supplies a lot of muscles compared to the fourth nerve. Fourth nerve is very thinner. Third nerve is thicker, obviously thicker than the fourth nerve. Okay. Want to see it again? Have a look at it again clearly this time. Very clearly this time. Have a look at it again. Look at the third and the fourth nerve. You can see, understand the difference in their thickness. Can you see it? Third and fourth already labeled. Look at the difference. Why? Because fourth nerve is only doing one thing. It is supplying the superior oblique. This is supplying five muscles. This is supplying five muscles. Also, it is carrying the parasympathetic fibers. Okay. So therefore, the third nerve is quite thick. Okay. Now let us go to each nerve because now they have come out of it. Let us start with the third nerve. Third nerve now quickly, guys. Third nerve having the functional components, general, somatic, efferent. Any other functional component you can think of? In the third nerve, any other functional component you guys can think of? If you can think of, then put it in the comment box. Other is general, visceral, efferent. Very good, Gayatri. General, visceral, efferent. So this is the parasympathetic part, that is the motor part. Now we have seen that it comes out from the important points are coming out of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus, passes between the two arteries. We know which arteries, not going to repeat them again. Moves where? It moves anteriorly. Now it will reach which structure? It will reach the lateral wall of a sinus. And what is the name of that sinus? Very good. It will reach the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. That is important. It will reach the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. So as it reaches the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, we can see where it is exactly, and exactly it is somewhat over here. This is the cavernous sinus over here. That is the cavernous sinus. This what color? This reddish highlighted. That is the cavernous sinus, and these are your nerves. So this is one cavernous sinus. That is another. This is a coronal section. Taken off. This is the sphenoid bone body. That is the sphenoid layer sinuses. These are your cavernous sinus. In the lateral wall, you can see some nerves. And what are these nerves? Have a look at them clearly. Oculomotor nerve. So oculomotor nerve, lateral wall. This is which nerve? Trochlear nerve, lateral wall, and V1 nerve, lateral wall, ophthalmic division. That we'll do tomorrow. V1 nerve over here. So this is the third nerve. That is the fourth nerve. Latest addition of Grace is all the places just pointing out that V2 is somewhat away from the lateral wall. Very good, JV. V2 is said to be close to the floor, but it is not in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. So remember V2, if the question comes, which are the following are the nerves which are related to the cavernous sinus, except if there is V2 as the option, go with V2. If other options are third, fourth, V1 or the sixth one. Sixth nerve over here you can see lying inside the cavernous sinus along with the internal carotid artery over here. This artery is our internal carotid artery. Sixth nerve is also third, fourth, and sixth. These three which are referring to right now, they are related to the cavernous sinus. Third and fourth to the lateral wall, and sixth nerve to the inside the cavernous sinus. It is related inferior lateral to the ICA. That will do again. So over here, the third nerve, lateral wall of cavernous sinus. Okay, so we're doing the third nerve. So third nerve has reached the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. Now, in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, what will this third nerve do? Is third nerve, it divides into two divisions, superior and the inferior divisions. As it comes out of the cavernous sinus, it will have two divisions, superior and the inferior divisions. So where will these divisions go now? Where will these divisions go? Here, have a look at this diagram. We have a lot of diagrams today so that the understanding is clear. This was the position for the cavernous sinus. Yes or no? This was the position of the cavernous sinus. So from here we had this nerve that is coming out, the oculomotor nerve, two divisions. Now, which is this foramen over here? Superior orbital fissure. They will go to orbit. Very good, JV. Very good, Chino and Tawhid. But through where? They will enter this superior orbital fissure. So now both of these divisions will enter the superior orbital fissure. Very good. Which part of the superior orbital fissure? Very well. That is the middle part of the superior orbital fissure. So they will enter the middle part of the superior orbital fissure. Okay, if you want to look at the superior orbital fissure, we'll show you the superior orbital fissure also. Don't worry. Go course wise. We have seen the cranial fossa in this particular. So you know where is superior orbital fissure. Superior orbital fissure is present between which bones? Superior orbital fissure is present between which bone? The bones are this and this, lesser wing and the greater wing of sphenoid. Also, question came in your INI set paper. There was a question, if I am not wrong, they showed you a pterion and what is the structure deep to it, something like that. The options were different. Okay, below pterion. Okay, below pterion, what is the bone inside it? I guess whatever the options were, they marked it the lesser wing. That was the closest option. So yes. So superior orbital fissure is a gap between lesser and the greater wing of sphenoid. Now structures pass through the superior orbital fissure, and we should be seeing this nerve over here. So this is a superior orbital fissure. This is your superior orbital fissure over here. Okay, in the skull also you may see the superior orbital fissure. Can you see this white background? If you look at the orbit, can you see this white background, or let me put it like this? Okay, over here, that is a superior orbital fissure. So it is having the superior orbital fissure. This hole is superior orbital fissure, and there's a common tendinous ring at the apex of the orbit, which divides the superior orbital fissure into a lateral part, middle, and the medial part. This is the middle part. Here you are seeing 2 times 3 is written. That is for the superior and the inferior division. 2 times 3 is written. So it enters from here. So it enters into the superior orbital fissure. Now what will it do? As it enters into the superior orbital fissure middle part, it will go anteriorly, and what it is going to supply? It is going to supply what? Superior divisions and the inferior divisions. They are going to supply the different muscles. And those muscles are, quickly now. Welcome Preetham, Mohammed Shafi and Blossom. The muscles supplied by the superior division of the oculomotor nerve are superior rectus and LPS only. Very good. SR and LPS only. While those supplied by the inferior divisions are what? They are your inferior rectus. Yes. Inferior oblique, the two inferiors, not all rest. Okay, inferior rectus and which? Medial rectus. So remember over here, this is a frequently the examiner knows that you will be confused over this. Why examiner knows you will be confused? Because medial rectus is neither superior nor inferior, it is at the middle. So the students will be confused that MR is supplied by superior division or the inferior division. It is supplied by the inferior division. So if the question comes tomorrow that inferior division and superior division, which is the larger division, answer is going to be our inferior division is going to be the larger division than the superior division. Remember that also. Which division is larger? It is the inferior division which is larger. So inferior division supplies these 3 muscles, superior division supplies these 3 muscles. This is the general somatic efferent part. It also has a general visceral efferent part. What does it mean? It means that if suppose this is our brain over here, okay, here are your general somatic efferent cell bodies. They are coming out carried by the third cranial nerve. But here are your general visceral efferent fibers from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. They will also send few of their fibers, which will be carried again by the third nerve. Which is this nucleus? Edinger-Westphal nucleus, very close to the third nucleus, oculomotor nerve complex. But they will be carried. Now they will be carried meaning by that this is again dividing into superior and inferior division. This is going to supply 2 muscles, that is going to supply 3 muscles. Now in that, this parasympathetic also will go through which division? Superior or inferior division? Inferior branch or superior branch? Very good, Prajapat. Yes, that will go to the inferior branch. Inferior branch was supplying three muscles, IR, IO, and MR. It will go into which one? It will go into the one which is supplying the, very good, inferior oblique. So the nerve from here, which is going to supply, see, divide into three branches, no, like this. So this will go into this inferior oblique one. Then from here it will go. It's not going to supply the inferior oblique. It is going to go, and it is going to relay in the which ganglion? Ciliary ganglion. Are you getting a point? So this parasympathetic from the Edinger-Weisfeld nucleus, it only traveled through the third nerve, through the inferior division, through the branch that was going to the inferior oblique, and then it came out of it and relayed. It relayed in the ciliary ganglion. Point clear? It will relay in the ciliary ganglion. Now, ciliary ganglion, where it is located? Where it is located? Where is the ciliary ganglion located? Inside the orbit, outside the orbit? To start with, inside or outside the orbit? It obviously inside the orbit. Where inside the orbit? Close to the apex of the orbit. Close to the apex of the orbit. Okay. Second nerve inside. Yes, also only inside. Between Tohid Singh, ON and OR. Acha, ON is optic nerve. Yes. Between the optic, that is at the apex of the orbit. No, it is at the apex of the orbit. 1 to 2 millimeter structure only over there. And these fibers are going to relay over here. And after the relay, there are going to be post-ganglionic fibers. Post-ganglionic fibers. Yes, name them. Which are these nerves? The post-ganglion fibers are, very good, these are your short ciliary nerves. These are your short ciliary nerves. Which are the post-ganglionic fibers. They are the branches of which nerve? Not the third nerve, not the fourth, not the sixth. They are the branches of, very good, fifth. No, Chino, not second, not the optic nerve. They are the branches of the V1, that is ophthalmic division. The ciliary nerves are branches of the which ophthalmic division? The nasociliary nerve. Tomorrow, come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. We will discuss the fifth nerve, the nasociliary nerve. Of V1 has three branches: lacrimal, frontal, nasociliary. This is the nasociliary, ciliary, short ciliary. Short ciliary, the post ganglion. Okay, now we have this short ciliary. We can continue from here to complete the ganglion part. We have this short ciliary nerve over here. Short ciliary nerve, which took the post-ganglionic from the ciliary ganglion. Simran, are you there? Is the writing fine? Any problem? Tell me. Simran, give us a thumbs up if you are still there. You reminded of my handwriting. Yes. Are you there? Okay. So this short ciliary nerves, they took this post-ganglionic from the ciliary ganglion. Now what will they do? They will pierce the sclera. They are going to pierce the sclera. They are going to run in the suprachoroid region. And where are they going to supply? These are going to supply where? Very good. These are going to supply the ciliaris muscle and the sphincter pupillae muscle. Which is the bigger one? Just answer that part. Ciliaris muscle is bigger or sphincter pupil is bigger? Think and answer. Sphincter, Tohid is saying sphincter pupil is bigger, okay. And someone else? Any other opinion? Ciliaris is bigger, okay. Now have a look at the iris. Suppose this is your pupil over here, and here you have this as the sphincter pupillae, which are running in this concentric directions, and the dilator pupillae will be in this direction over here. This will be the dilator pupillae. Yes or no? They are the how controlling the from the iris. Now behind this, imagine this would be, say, lens behind it. Okay, because this whole iris behind it, this is the lens, and this boundary of the lens. And just imagine that these are your suspensory with other color. These are the suspensory ligaments over here, which are coming from the ciliary process, having the ciliary muscles. Now imagine over here, this was our sphincter pupillae, and this whole over here, that is for the ciliary process, ciliary muscle. Which is bigger? This is the sphincter pupillae. Now which is bigger? 95% of the fibers of the short ciliary nerve go to ciliaris muscle, and 5% of the fibers go to sphincter pupillae muscle. You can understand the difference. Clear? 95% of the fibers, they go to ciliaris muscle. 5% will go to sphincter pupillae. Point clear? So this is how the third nerve will go. It will innervate all the muscles. It is going to innervate all the muscles, and then it's going to supply them. So here again, what we can see, we'll look at the extraocular muscles later on. First, let us see this all these nerves. So we have seen this nerve coming from the superorbital fissure from here, right at this part, third nerve, and then it is going and supplying the muscles. Ciliary ganglion also, little bit of the ciliary ganglion. Now we come to the other nerve, that is the fourth cranial nerve. So fourth cranial nerve. So let us see what is there in the fourth cranial nerve. We have gone to a little bit of it. Functional component is only one, general somatic efferent. It has no parasympathetic. It comes from the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. Simple. Few points already told. Let us make a small block over here. Thinnest or slender cranial nerve. Slender means S-L-E-N-D-E-R, slender. Having the internal decussation. Okay, having the internal decussation. Only nerve to arise on the dorsal aspect of the brainstem. Okay, runs between the two arteries, so could be involved in the aneurysms. So it's coming out the midbrain, and then it is going to enter the same sort of things. What are the same sort of things? Curve from the dorsal to the ventral. It will again reach the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. So these are also involved in the cavernous sinus thrombosis, both third and fourth and sixth. All of these three, they are involved in the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Then from there it will come out of the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. Anteriorly, it will again enter into which foramen? Again, supraorbital fissure only. But which part of supraorbital fissure? Lateral, middle, or medial? Lateral, middle, or medial? Lateral part we have LFT. Just remember that mnemonic. That is a very famous mnemonic. I hope all of you know. Lacrimal, frontal, and trochlea. So this is our trochlear nerve. So it passes through the lateral part of the supraorbital fissure. So let us quickly see it. First of all, from the brain, if we go inside the brain, this is our trochlear nucleus, general somatic efferent. Okay. Then it comes out of the brain. We have seen the transverse section. This is our fourth nerve over here, lateral wall of cavernous sinus. Okay. This is our superorbital fissure of the right orbit. And where were we? Yes, here is a superorbital fissure. This is our trochlear nerve over here, fourth nerve, lateral part. So it is L, F, and T, trochlear nerve. Okay. Then it will supply which muscle? I don't think that is much of a difficulty over here. It is going to supply which muscle? In the extraocular muscle, that muscle name is superior oblique. Only one muscle. Therefore, it is so thin. Only one muscle. That's game over. Game over. It just supplies one muscle, superior oblique muscle. SO4. SO4, don't miss it. Okay. So this was the fourth cranial nerve. If we go to the next cranial nerve, which is what? Which is our sixth cranial nerve. Sixth cranial nerve. Which is again our abducens nerve. Abducens nerve. Why we call it abducens nerve? Because it supplies a muscle which is finally lateral rectus, which does abduction, abduction. Why was it called the trochlear nerve? Anyone with the idea? Why is the name of this the trochlear nerve? Who will answer? Not very difficult. You just apply. Yes, the name is trochlea. Trochlea. What do you mean by trochlea? This muscle. This muscle, yes, its tendon passes through the trochlea. And this nerve is going to supply this muscle only, therefore known as trochlear nerve. Okay, superior oblique tendon takes a turn. We'll show you the extraocular muscles, so don't worry. You just be here till the end, till 5 p.m. We'll understand all the actions of the extraocular muscles also. That also we'll cover because that is a part of it. That is a part of it, and what happens in their lesions. What happens in the lesions? Abducens nerve. Coming out from where? Coming out from the pons. It is a motor, so it lies medially. What is the important feature of this abducens nerve? It has what? It has a long intradural course. Long intradural course. Why? And if there is a long beat long, what is it going to affect? It is involved when there is a intracranial tension or intracranial pressure. Yes, whenever there is a raised intracranial pressure, intradural course would be, there will be a lateral rectus go into the medial squint. I will go into the medial squint. Medial squint, how does it look like? But still, just to show you, it looks like somewhat like this small girl over here, abducens paralysis. You can see the left eye is going more medially. This is having the abducens paralysis. So the eye is being pulled medially. Eye is being pulled medially. It appears like this. Now, long intradural course. How are you going to justify that? What is this? How it is long? Yes, very good. One is Dordilos canal, but that is only a part. Why it is long over here? Imagine the sixth nerve. Okay, look at the skull over here. Look at the skull. Fissure, lesser and the greater wing, supraorbital fissure. Okay, this is our clivus. Fine. Here we have the tentorium cerebelli. So here we have the midbrain. Here we have the pons over here. Medulla oblongata. So medulla, pons over here, medulla over here, pons over here, and midbrain over here. So from the lower part of the pons, imagine the sixth nerve came anteriorly from here. Are you imagining? See, imagine this is say our brain stem. Okay, pen is the brain stem. Anterior to the skull, you have the sixth nerve coming out. Sixth nerve coming out from here. So enter this clivus, this dura mater from here, then it will ascend up. Then it will reach a ligament over here. And that ligament is which ligament? It is a petrosphenoid ligament. Please note its name. The petrous part bone, petrosphenoidal ligament. Petrosphenoid ligament. So this is the petrous part of the temporal bone. That is the sphenoid bone. So this is the petrous part, that is sphenoid. So petrosphenoid ligament over here. So this nerve passes beneath this ligament through a canal which is known as the Doriolos canal, which was asked in AIIMS few years back, first time. Normally the new trend questions is started by the AIIMS. Nowadays they will start by the INI CET exams. So abducens nerve, as it passes so much through this clivus and all, okay, this clivus, then it bends over here 90 degree, and then it goes. It has a very long course, long intradural course. Therefore, as an increase of ICT, this nerve would be easily compressed. Point clear? So two options of two things over here to remember, to make you remember, is one is this ligament and one is this canal. And also that this nerve, it takes a sharp 90-degree turn. Takes a sharp 90-degree turn from that. It has to pass through the cavernous sinus. To pass through it, and until it has to enter this. Okay, it has to also pass cavernous sinus. So this nerve also has couple of things after this. Remember about the cavernous sinus. It is in a center, or it passes through the cavernous, not the lateral wall, through the cavernous. And then it passes through the superorbital fissure. You can tell me which part of the superorbital fissure? I guess you have seen it now. Lateral, middle, medial. It passes through the middle part of the superorbital fissure. Okay, we can see it also again. If that is any problem over here, we can see it. This is our sixth nerve. Oh, different color. Sixth nerve over here, fourth nerve over here. These are third nerve. So sixth nerve over here, that is passing through the middle part. Through the middle part. And as we have seen the cavernous sinus, we can see it again. Sixth nerve was over here. This was our sixth nerve. Of CST, the first nerve to be would be what? Common cavernous sinus thrombosis. The first nerve obviously would be called as the sixth cranial nerve. And you know there is a medial squint when there is sixth cranial nerve, because it is supplying only one muscle, lateral rectus LR6. LR6. So only here again your only and only general efferent. Okay, here also, not only here also, we have the general somatic efferent column over here. Point clear? About the sixth nerve. This is how the sixth nerve goes. So ultimately, all of these three nerves, they pass through the superorbital fissure like this, and they will supply this extraocular muscles. Extraocular muscles, you can very well see, this is our left orbit. That is our left orbit over here. Okay, and we are seeing all these extraocular muscles. These are the four recti: superior recti, lateral recti, medial recti, and your inferior recti behind my name. Okay, behind my skull, inferior recti. 4 recti, 2 obliques, superior oblique, and your inferior oblique over here. 4 plus 2, 6, and your 1 LPS. So total there are 7 extraocular muscles. SO4, LR6, superior oblique by 4th, lateral rectus by 6th. So we have 5 muscles supplied by third cranial nerve. 5 muscles supplied by the third cranial nerve. Okay, this is the left orbit over here, as I already told in the beginning. Now let us see about these muscles. How do they function? What will happen if these muscles, they will go into paralysis? If these muscles go into paralysis. Now if our eyes are, if you are seeing from here, if you are sitting over here, you are seeing from here, you are seeing from here. Okay, this say the eyelashes and this is your eye over here. Just try to imagine you're seeing a superior view. It appears somewhat like this. Superior view. Left or right side orbit? Left or right eye? Eye it is. Left eye, obviously left eye. So we can see the four recti is not in this, but yes, we can imagine the superior rectus over here, the medial rectus over here, the lateral rectus over, and same parallel to superior rectus below the eyeball, you will have the inferior rectus below it. So recti, if you can see over here, please have a sharp eye. Recti are attached anterior or posterior of the eyeball. Recti are inserted anterior to the equator, posterior to the equator. Chinu, Tawheed, and JV and Prajwal are going to say anterior. Sure. Recti are inserting very good anterior. Equator, you may imagine yourself that this would be the equator of the eyeball, anterior half and the posterior half. Yes or no? This would be the location of the equator of the eyeball. Attached where they are attached, inserted anterior to the equator. What does it mean? It means that as they will contract, as this recti, yeah, it is lagging. I can also see. Is it fine now? Is it fine? Don't know what is happening from yesterday. From yesterday, it is happening to a lot of people. Lot of people. Okay, but don't worry. It also gives you a little bit gap, little bit breather. Okay. So recti are attached anterior to equator. So it means that when the superior rectus will contract, the eye will look above. When the lateral rectus will contract, the eye will look outside abduct. When the medial rectus adduct and the inferior rectus will contract, the eyeball will look down. Eyeball will look down. On the other hand, obliques on the other hand, obliques are attached where they are attached behind the equator. So you can very well see this superior oblique going, and this was the trochlear, named as the trochlear nerve. Trochlear nerve, and then it is going over here, is attached in between. Yeah, I can see. I was saying it was also giving me a little bit breather. Now is it okay? The network is fine. The whole, that is fine. The speed and all is good. That's a simple price of technology that we have to pay, I guess. So it's a simple price with the technology is asking us. Okay. So yes, we should be ready to pay that small price if at all we have. Okay. So obliques are attaching over here. So it means when the superior oblique will contract. So eyeball will move somewhat direction. Okay, we'll come to the action. Same way in the below lower part, inferior oblique is also situated like this. Here we can see a little of the inferior oblique. Can you see it? Little bit of the inferior oblique here. This is the peria of the inferior oblique. So, and it is also inserting below like this only, inferior oblique. So obliques, they will function as if they will are first of all behind the equator, and they are pulling the eyeball in this particular direction. The recti they pull as if they are coming from the apex of the orbit in this direction. Okay, this is your attachment of the muscles. Look at one more attached side, lateral view. This is the left lateral view, so you can see the other muscles again. This is your oblique muscle. So you can see this oblique muscle is going where? It is going below the superior rectus. This was the superior rectus over here. And this would be, say, our equator of the eyeball. Let me make this equator also again with the red color. I guess you will all remember it better. So you can very well see the inferior oblique, superior oblique, they are attached behind the equator. These recti, they are attached anterior to the equator. Point clear? Okay. This diagram to show you that the inferior oblique direction is this, superior oblique is this. If we have understood this, then we can very well understood the action of the muscles, the action of the muscles. And what are the action of the extraocular muscles? Yes. Start with the simpler ones so that we can rectify. MR and LR. Inferior oblique origin is from the floor of the orbit. It is arising from the floor of the orbit. Okay, it is rising from the floor of the orbit. The superior oblique is originating from behind, from above the common tendinous ring of Zinn. Inferior oblique is taking origin from below. Medial rectus, lateral rectus, they only do a function which is your ADD adduction and ABD. So they work in one axis only, so they don't do anything else. So we are left with what? We are left with superior rectus inferior oblique. Okay, now if you look at these muscles and you will take individual muscle, superior rectus, think of its action, and then you will reach the probable area of how it is going to act. This is the pull. Elevate the eyeball. Clear? Elevate the eyeball. Okay. Also, you can see that this is the axis, visual axis, and that is the axis of the orbit. How many degrees separation between? This is the axis of the eyeball, and that is the orbital axis. 45 degrees. Show that 18 degree. Somewhat more. Add 5 to 18. What does it become? 18 plus 5. You're nearby 23, around 23-degree angle. So you have the visual axis like this over here, and you have the orbital axis like this. So their difference is around 23 degrees. So now you can very well imagine that when this superior rectus is going to contract, let me use this red color, it is going to elevate the eye, plus eye is going to move internally or is going to move externally. It is going to internally rotate the eye, plus it will also somewhat adduct or abduct the eye. It is pulling the eye medially or laterally. It is somewhat adducting the eye. That is the function of the superior rectus. This is your SR over here. Okay, that is over here. Same ways, if we look at the here, sorry, AR. Same ways we look at the rectus. What do we understand? Inferior rectus, you have to imagine it is below over here. It is, so it is already depressing the eye. It is depressing the eyeball, depression of the eye. Again, it will be taking it medially or it will be adducting or abducting. When you have muscle over here below the eyeball, it is adducting or it is abducting. It is obviously adducting. Go one by one, very simple. Adduction of the eyeball. Second is when you have a muscle which is going below, if it contracts, will it rotate the eye in this direction or will it rotate the eye in this direction? With this, which direction? It is going to below, so it is going to rotate the eye outside. So that is your extorsion or external rotation or extorsion. This internal rotation is intorsion. This is intorsion. First of all, we are understanding the action. Then we can make a mnemonics also. Now come to the superior oblique. Superior oblique direction is this. Superior oblique direction is this. Above. So superior oblique, what do you think will it do? Yes, this is the eyeball. It will rotate. Think of it will rotate. It will rotate it internally like this, or will it rotate it externally like this? It is going to do the intorsion. Yes or no? Now, when the superior oblique contracts, it is behind the equator. It is pulling up from here. So, will the eyeball look down or should it look up? When you are pulling it from behind, posterior part of the eyeball that is actually raised. When the posterior part of the eyeball is raised, the cornea down. Depression. Okay, eyeball will look down. So you have intorsion and depression. Is rotating the eyeball in this direction. Will the cornea look outside after it contacts or will it look inside? Meaning by will it be adducted or will it be abducted? Think of something is pulling this ball. Imagine this as a ball. Something is pulling in this direction. Cornea starts to look somewhat outside. That is ABD, abduction. That is the function of SO. This is telling you the reality how it happens. Then we'll take out the shortcuts. The same function goes for the IO also because that is also parallel to it, but in the below. So difference will the IO will elevate the eyeball because once it contracts, the posterior half of the eyeball goes down the eyeball. After elevation of the eyeball, it is going to do intorsion or extorsion. Extorsion. Very good. Extorsion of the eyeball. Why? Because you have to imagine the. So the eyeball is going to rotate from below upward like this, outside, extorsion. And what about adduction or abduction? If you are pulling it like this, the eyeball is also going to slightly. That is ABD, abduction. This is how we understood. This is how we understood the AR, SO, and IO. But functions in a simplified way in the exam. So mainly we are dealing with this SR IR, SO, and IO. Out of these, the recti, they will act according to their name. So the superior one will elevate, meaning by the obliques, they act O for oblique, O for opposite to their name. Then the superior oblique will depress the eyeball, inferior oblique will elevate the eyeball. Two things over here are SIN or SIT and RAD, SI and RAD, meaning by in this 4, the superior ones are going to intort the eye, meaning by the inferior ones are going to extort the eye. RAD over means the recti are going to be adductors, ADD. Which recti? All these two recti. It automatically means the obliques are going to ABD, abduct the eye. And let me recti means SR and IR, oblique means SO and IO. This is the whole point over here. That is the total action. MR and LR, you don't need to remember the end of story. This is how they function. This is how they are going to function. Yes. And a simplified way you can look at this diagram, not this diagram, but in a simple way. This is how they are going to do. Okay, so this is again the median, that is the right eye over here. You can see all the actions: superior rectus, inferior oblique, inferior rectus. Same thing. Look at the mnemonic simplified diagram or the concept. If you remember the figure, if you remember, okay, superior oblique is coming and inferior oblique is coming like this. You can remember that part. You can be it means that you have a good interest in the eye. You can be a good ophtha person also, if you want to take ophtha. Okay, so it's a very, 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 very good branch. I mean, all one of the good branches. Actions. Now, what if the nerves they are lesioned? Muscles will go into paralysis. So what? Now tell me what will happen when the third cranial nerve is paralyzed or it is lesioned. Causes could be any. Cause could be any. What change will basically come into the extraocular muscles? How will what will be the attitude? Very good. Ptosis will be there. First of all, understand if you take a TS of the third nerve, the parasympathetic fibers are located. The parasympathetic fibers are located peripherally, and the normal efferent fibers they are located in the center. This is the normal general somatic efferent fibers, and these outside are your general visceral efferent. So when there is an outside compression to the first one will go as a GV, that is the parasympathetic, that is actually a ciliary ganglion that was supplying the sphincter pupillae and the ciliaris. What will happen when the sphincter pupillae undergoes paralysis? The eye will only be dilating. So mydriasis or meiosis? Mydriasis or meiosis? Mydriasis. There will be dilatation of the pupil, and when the ciliaris muscle is not working, loss of accommodation. Loss of accommodation. Yes, Chino, why not? I will repeat, even if you don't say. Of the third nerve, outside you have this in this nerve you have a lot of in your Gray's textbook, 15,000 axons are there inside the oculomotor nerve. 50 around this. The basically the part which are general visceral efferent, Edinger Westphal. The central are basically your general somatic efferent part. This the ciliary ganglion part will be not working efficiently. It supplies two muscles, sphincter pupillae and the ciliaris. When the sphincter pupil is not functioning, the eye will go into dilator pupillae, will have an unopposed action. Mydriasis, that is dilatation of pupil. Mydriasis means what? Dilation or dilatation of the pupil. When the ciliaris muscle is not functioning, there will be loss of accommodation. So when the person wants to look at the near object, he won't be looking at clearly. Loss of accommodation. Now, all the general somatic efferent. Now, when the general somatic efferent is being involved, then what will happen? That all the muscles will be paralyzed except two muscles, SO and SO4 and LR6. Yes or no? SO, what was the main action of SO? What was the main action of SO? So if we now look at the main actions, then okay, let us go over here again. The main action of SO was act down, intort, it is doing the abduction. So I will go into downward, it will slightly try to intort, it will slightly look outside, down and out. Second, it only looks out, down and out when there is a third nerve complete palsy. When there's a third nerve complete palsy, first you have the parasympathetic symptoms, and then you have this eyes look down and out. As obviously there will be ptosis also, because this LPS is also not functioning, so it is not able to elevate. So there will be slight ptosis also. But remember this, when the patient eye is going down and out, obviously the upper eyelid is looking down. So it become hard to judge the ptosis as coming or what. So you look at this figure, oculomotor palsy. So obviously there will be ptosis. When we look down, the upper eyelid goes down. They get a point. So always look at the attitude of this cornea where it is going down and out. Point clear? Third nerve palsy. I already showed you, very simple. It is action. Now what is the fourth nerve palsy? Fourth nerve palsy, that is your superior oblique is not functioning. Superior oblique, we just saw its actions were depress the eye, intort the eye, and ABD, abduct the eye. Intort and abduct the eye. Is the point clear? Three actions. Let us look at this diagram so that we. Now what is happening over this is the normal side. These two figures A and B are the normal side, and that is where you have the fourth cranial nerve palsy over here. Okay, the C and D are over here. Now look at this now. I'm zooming it a little bit. Forget this cranial, that lesion part. Look at this figure only. Look at these two pair of eyes. Just a second. Here it goes. Yes. When we are looking straight, normal eyes, they are aligned like this simply. When we tilt our head to the left side like this, and tilt our head to this side, what will happen? The eyes, they start to rotate, they start to do what? They start to do extortion over here and intorsion over here. Is that point clear? Okay, like this, the eyes will be making their visual field, whatever they are looking, this point of fixation remains there. So point of fixation remains there, but so the eyes will start their superior colliculi, and the gaze reflect, not the gaze, basically superior colliculi over here. Clear? So when we tilt our head into the extorsion and the other eye goes into the intorsion. Is this point clear or not? Give me a thumbs up if the point is clear. Okay, the point is clear. Now what was the role of superior oblique? Intorsion or extorsion? Superior oblique was intorsion. Okay, role of superior oblique was into extorsion. Just imagine. The role of superior oblique was doing intorsion. We had a fourth nerve palsy. Now this intorsion is not occurring. What will occur? Unopposed extorsion. So eyes are automatically in a normal position when the eyes are like this. This eye where you have this side, supposedly right eye, you have the fourth cranial palsy. This right eye will go into extorsion. Look over here. C is showing you that the right eye is going a fourth cranial palsy. So it is already rotated. It is already rotated outside. It is into extorsion. So what will happen? Other eye has to move to intorsion, but this normal eye will only go into intorsion when you tilt your head to that side. So supposedly I am the patient. I am having my right fourth cranial nerve palsy. My right eye is slightly extorted. I will be having diplopia. I won't be able to have that this binocular this. So that unknowingly, it is not intentionally, or unknowingly, my head will tilted to this side, right side fourth nerve palsy. Point clear? It will be automatically tilted to this side unknowingly. And that is why when the head is tilted to the left side, look at understand the problem has to be on this side. So like this or like this, the left. So this is something which you need to know. circumstances and abnormal fourth cranial nerve, right side, it is showing you the palsy over here. Yes, I hope it is clear. Okay, so that's all guys from my side, and we try to discuss these 3, 4 and 6, and tomorrow at cranial number 5 and 7. Before that, tonight around 8 p.m. having a YouTube class on the femoral triangle. So just your quick revision on the. So all of you are invited in this YouTube class. We'll just share you the link in the Telegram group, also in my group as well as the Unacademy group. All the contents and the applied aspect, not just the content. Applied aspect, the cadaveric image, the cadaveric image. Okay, so that's all. We'll meet around 9 or 10 p.m. to discuss the exam. That will tell you tomorrow. Tomorrow 3 p.m. is Harsh. Just wrapping up things. This was 1 hour session, and therefore, any query, guys? Tell me your query. How is the preparation going on? Any all the problems on yourself. If it is not able to sort it out, don't feel shame in asking for help. You have to understand first of all this thing. Everyone has their. You try to sort it out. If you are doing it well and good, if you are not, ask for help. It is no problem for asking for help. Maximum time you will either get the help or you will not get the help. Already you are not getting any help. You are not asking for it. Okay, so okay, open up a little bit if you want to. That's all, guys. See you after a few hours. On the shoulder and hip joint, yes, Chinu, why not? I will definitely do a YouTube session and on the shoulder and the hip joint. Shoulder and the hip joint. Month, not, I mean, this month is already over. Maybe next month we'll definitely do a session on shoulder and hip joint. These are some topics, so I'll just stuff together, and within a span of around 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, we'll complete this joint. Today took the femoral triangle. Maybe next time we'll took the shoulder or the hip joint. Clear? No problem. I remember that part. If I forget, Telegram group of my Telegram post a YouTube session on that part. Or so that I have some in my mind also. No? Also, normal humans we tend to forget. I am opening up myself. Of you ask any of doubts, I will try to help them out. Okay. Clear? So that's all, guys. Bye bye, and see you soon. Welcome, Surin, and bye bye, Surin.